Last time I checked, it wasn't illegal for a kid to walk to the store. So.
It is when they're 10 years old.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to see that on the books.
Okay, well, you'll see it on your warrant.
Great.
Can you imagine anybody loving or caring for your kids more than you do, Lila?
No, not at all. And I know my child better than someone else. I know whether they're mature enough to do something on their own or not. And I don't think any stranger, I don't care if they're a police officer or not, can make that judgment because they don't know my child, but I do. And I can make that determination for them.
Well, and also, are all your children the same?
No, not at all.
No. I mean, I've got 4 and every one of them has grown and matured at different levels.
Absolutely.
You know, that's a per child thing. So, and I know David's going to say it, but, you know, getting into these laws where there may or may not be a certain age, well, okay, you can do this at 11 or you can do this at 12 or 13. What does that matter? You can have a whole grade level full of 12-year-olds and every one of those kids is going to be completely different from a maturity standpoint. So.
Right. And if you look at the government school system we have today, it does not bring them up. It's not there to create excellence. It's there to standardize, and it brings the smartest. It brings everyone down to the lowest standard so they can get through.
Let me piggyback off of that comment about our public government schools. I'm not a huge fan of them. I will say that their purpose should be to provide information and a learning path. And some schools, government, public schools, do that better than others. But that said, the good news for all of us is the U.S. Supreme Court, because that's where it really kind of comes down to, has said what you 3 parents here have said, which is you know what's best for your children. Now, there are occasions clearly that parents don't do very well in their parenting. And the way we perceive it at Parent USA is the U.S. Supreme Court says, unless you're an unfit parent, as long as you're an adequate parent, government needs to stay out of it. Because if you're a fit parent, if you're adequately parenting, now we would encourage all parents to do the best they can and really read your books and study and exercise discipline within your own parenting style and don't succumb to your fears and don't worry about social pressures, but do a good job parent. We encourage every parent to do that. However, as long as you're not a bad parent, an unfit parent, and an inadequate parent, it's not up to government to intervene. And that freedom matters in America, or it's supposed to. Where we get into problems of what happened to Britt is the notion that I'm empowered by government with a badge, a gun, the ability to get an arrest warrant. I have handcuffs. I can do what I want. I can even make up a law because, as the body cam shows, this deputy in arresting Britt may have misspoken in saying reckless endangerment. There is no such law in Georgia. There's 2 different laws. One, reckless conduct, which is what she was arrested and accused of violating. But that requires her to have conscious disregard for the safety of her child. She didn't have that because he walked down to the store on his own volition, not with permission, not because she told him to go. So she can't be in conscious disregard. And then the other statutes, child endangerment, that requires there to be a certain level of harm that the child actually had inflicted upon him by reason of the negligence or intentional act of the parent or a non-parent. Anybody can be accused of child endangerment. Neither one's applicable. So maybe the deputy misspoke and said reckless endangerment, confusing these 2 laws. But where she really said and made up the law is when Britt said, wisely, last I checked, it wasn't against the law for a child to walk to the store. And the deputy, feeling, I'm imagining, like, no, I'm in control here, said it is when they're 10. And you know what? It isn't. It's not illegal when they're 10, nor at any particular age, because age is not defined in Georgia as being a law that you can violate. But I have asked the question repeatedly of parents all the time, at what age do you believe your child is capable and old enough to be home alone or to go out on their own? And some parents say, well, my 11-year-old, and they actually talk about their child. Others react reflexively because they've been conditioned by our society to say, gee, I don't know what the law is in my state. And my answer is, I didn't ask that. I didn't
Right.
ask what's the law in your state because, frankly, there shouldn't be a law that's based on age that tells you as a parent what your child and you can decide for your family. And that's, again, a disconnect as we even discuss this situation with Britt.